everybody. I want to talk to you a little bit today about volunteer plants. I already mentioned that this Simpson black-seeded lettuce volunteered on us, and I'm fine with that, but as you can tell, this area that was inside of the field fence trellis, since the lettuce did not grow, the weeds took over that space. So it's already starting to form flower buds, and I'm glad because I ran out of black Simpson seeded lettuce, and this is going to give me another generation of lettuce grown here at J&J Acres. So I'm going to clean out the weeds around here and then use this volunteer plant as a source for seeds. I'm showing you the bare spot of ground in the middle of this screen because I want you to take a lesson learned away from it. We planted some squashes in this area of the garden last year. We had a butternut squash and also a spaghetti squash. And about 2 months ago, we actually had 2 plants volunteer themselves right here. And it was clear to me from their seed leaves that they were some sort of cucurbit. And I don't know which squash it would have turned up to be, but I did not protect them. And we had a night that went below freezing, and they died. And so what could have been a free volunteer plant is no more. So when you see a volunteer and it's not something that's going to impede with your plans, protect it. Okay, fellow growers, can you see the volunteer plant in this setup? These are the mammoth cabbages that we tried to grow, and only a few of them are heading, and now it's starting to get a little too hot for them to be happy. So they might get pulled here within the next few weeks, or I might let them go to seed so that I can collect the seed. But if you're familiar with growing melons, you may notice the watermelon leaves interspersed between this row of cabbages. We planted a picnic watermelon variety last year, and it seems to have survived the winter. We did have a couple of them split in the garden, but there are just so many volunteers coming up around the garden from this vine that I have to ask myself, is it possible for the roots of a watermelon vine to overwinter? I don't believe that's possible. I am fairly confident that it is an annual. Yet, I have them dispersed in so many different places around the garden that I can't help but at least wonder if it's possible for them to overwinter. Let me know if you've ever had watermelon overwinter, or if you think that we simply had to have had this many seeds come out in the garden. One thing I'm having to take into consideration with the volunteer watermelon is that we're already growing a new variety of watermelon in this area. This is the sugar baby watermelon, and it is already putting on male and female flowers. So the good news is, as I see some melons develop, rather than trying to quarantine them, I can mark the melons on this plant before the flowers show up on the picnic variety that have volunteered, and we can save some seed from this and make sure that there's no cross-contamination on our seed saving efforts. Look what's coming up in the weeds. This must be a straight 8 cucumber. Last year, very near this area, we grew a straight 8 cucumber, and I can only presume that it has reseeded itself and is coming up as a volunteer. Now, since I did not plant any regular market variety cucumbers this year, I'm just going to play it where it lays and let that cucumber grow up. We'll clear out some of the weeds around it and provide it a little bit of a trellis and hope that it does even better. Well, there you have it. That's what I've noticed for volunteers coming up in our garden so far this year. Watermelons, lettuce, and cucumber. I'm curious if you have any volunteers coming up in your gardens. Let me tell you why I love volunteers so much. We spend so much time trying to make sure that we have the soil right, that the life in the soil is good, that the pH is right so that plants can have access to all the minerals and nutrients that they need. We make sure that we supplement our soils and amend our soils or build our compost so that all of those minerals and elements are available and present for the plant. And then we have volunteers. Plants that just know where the right spot is. plants that are happy where they are and they just begin to grow. And we can do things like, for the cucumber, make sure that it has something to trellis on so that it has a better place to grow. But it perfectly would be happy if we just let it trail across the ground. So we don't have to do anything for it to be happy, except make sure that it gets some water perhaps. So tell me about the volunteers that you have coming up in your garden and what you love most about them. If you've got some of those classic tomatoes in the compost pile stories, I want to hear about them. Share them in the comments below. Please give a thumbs up to this video and subscribe to our channel and share it so that others can share their stories about their volunteer plants as well. I'm standing here in our arbor, and you can see that the pole beans are really starting to enjoy this. Not too much further down the line, I'll get to sit right in this arbor and just enjoy the day and get away from the sun for a few minutes while I'm out here tending the garden during the day. And I think that's pretty cool. Thank you all for watching. We'll see you next time.